Well, it
I
doesn't
don't have
matter.
anything to
You're
do.
still being executed.
Oh yeah.
Damn. I see
great-
we run a tight ship.
Yes. I'm walking to New Mexico
really.
right now.
Ooh.
Okay.
Oh my.
This
Okay.
is the Micro Machines podcast. And today's episode is on the Char B1. Woo!
Yeah.
Callum, you're going to have to edit this out.
Callum, calling on you.
Yo. Oh god. Well, at least I can edit this bit out. That's good.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So today we're going to break down the why the Char B1 existed, what it is, some things about it, and then we're going to show off some of our works in progress. Get hype.
There we go. I'm back.
You need to get better at this silence thing.
Now we're just making the silences long enough that they can be edited out, you see? It's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
We're making it easy. Okay, I see what you.
Yeah, you gotta make my life easier. Jesus.
Yeah, you said you took out like 10 minutes of just dead silence from the last one, right?
Yeah, it was 10 minutes.
It's gonna be a lot longer now.
Yeah.
This
no, we're
podcast
just
is
gonna
going to be 3 hours long with 5 hours
We're
of
just gonna make
silence.
Dennis. We're just gonna make Dennis do the intro again. It's fine. I can cut this whole thing out and just make him redo it.
I mean,
Yes,
you can
it
do
is
that.
an
It's still going to be on
adventure to
YouTube. Okay,
Oh boy.
so
So
we're in it. We're in the podcast now. Okay,
Yes.
so I figured before we actually talk about the Char B1, it might be important to talk about French tanks in general and how they came to be, and maybe how that led to the doctrine that would eventually support the Char B1's development and then use. So, who here knows anything about the First World War?
I do. A little bit.
yeah.
How did it
Yeah,
go for
same
the
here.
French?
Ooh.
Oh, they got steamrolled a little.
Yeah, that's a complicated question.
So, this is Germany, right? Around here. These red arrows represent the German advance. These blue arrows basically represent the French advance throughout various parts of the war, as well as built up French regions. Someone here mentioned it did not go well for the French.
Well, not at first.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't for French anymore.
So, as I recall, the French lost a significant percentage of their male population during the First World War, and really they were getting steamrolled right until the arrival of huge amounts of manpower from the Entente, as well as, and I think this is glossing over history a bit, but when the tank began to show up like this FT-17 here, that began to change things, right?
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about the FT-17 was that it had a lot more off-road ability, which allowed it to basically go through areas where it was harder for infantry to navigate.
Right.
It was proof against a lot of small arms fire, say machine gun fire, right? And it even had some offensive ability. And it was actually the first tank of the war that had this modern layout where you have your hull, but you also have a turret that can rotate 360 degrees. And this is something that basically most tanks have copied ever since then.
Are you telling me that they finally learnt what not to do with the Saint Chamond?
Nah, Saint Chamond was amazing, man.
Yeah. I mean, look at that camo scheme. That's just.
Oh yeah.
So, the French would eventually be part of the nations that won the First World War. I think probably the tanks development contributed to a certain degree for that, but it wasn't, obviously the decisive factor. However, this man here, General Estienne, in the 1920s, he's basically known as the father of French tanks. And in the 1920s, he basically began to research how tanks might be used on the future battlefields, basically as a force multiplier for the army. which led to him beginning to consider the concept of Char du Bataille. And I, even despite my limited French language education, I'm still butchering that name. But basically, his idea was that you could have a battle tank, such as perhaps these ones, that could be used basically as their own independent branch of the French armed forces that could basically support infantry, attack objectives, do tank things.
So
Tank
kind of
things.
like the T-14.
Yes, kind of like the T-14.
Which was also a tank.
Was
Most definitely.
nah. Yeah. So in the 1920s, he basically helps the French army develop a requirement for this new battle tank design, right? And the idea with it is like we, in hindsight, might call it a heavy tank, sort of an assault tank. It was meant to do a lot of things, right?
Right.
Now, to gloss over a lot of the development for it, basically you have one company that really emerges as like a front runner in this competition for for this battle tank to fulfill the requirement, and that's Renault. So Renault, basically in the 1920s and then later in the 1930s, begins developing these prototypes for the battle tank. So these are three pictures of some of the battle tank designs, some of the prototypes. And as you can see, this was the earliest one. Then we go to this one. So this is prototype D101. This is D102, and then this is D103. And as you can see, they progressively look more and more like the Char B1 with each iteration.
That's a weird gun on the third one. What is that?
This one,
You know?
I think that
Yeah.
is a 37 millimeter. I can't say
37.
for sure. Yeah, but
Those are nice looking World War One tracks right there.
well,
Yep.
that's one thing we're going to have to talk about. So this is basically what the prototypes have evolved into, which is the Char B1. And these three tanks are all Char B1s of various types. So right off the bat, these tanks were, for their time period, pretty large. And they have a lot of design features that were basically the products of lessons learned during the First World War. So one thing you might notice about these tanks is they are a lot longer than they are wide. And one of the ideas behind this was that it meant that they could better cross trenches. This is actually one of the reasons why they have these almost like paddle tracks, because how given the improved off-road mobility. They also have the hull gun, which we'll cover in a few later slides. And basically the idea with that was that it allowed it to not only act as field mobile artillery, but it also in theory could allow it to fire into a trench. And yeah, like many interwar tanks, it also had the ability to tow a fuel or ammunition trailer.
Which we all know was such a success.
Yes. Hey,
Just ask
Not
David
just
Fletcher.
a bomb at the back of your tank.
well, as we've seen on the Discord, there's definitely been at least one Sherman with a Calliope rocket launcher, a 17-pounder, a crocodile trailer, and mine flail.
The crab. Yeah,
Yeah,
crab.
the crab.
The crab.
Maybe not the best design ever, but it looks cool, I guess.
Oh
You-
yeah, it looks really metal.
You unload it from the LST, and it drives straight to Berlin. Nothing stops it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the first like hard factor we should talk about is the mobility of this tank, because that was actually one of its stronger suits. So I've got some images here to cover just the basic aspects. I guess the first thing we should talk about is that it had this 310 horsepower engine, just your standard diesel. It was generally, the tank was pretty underpowered. It did not have a good power to weight ratio, but it still was. Oh, I think it was still able to do just above walking pace, and if it really was cranking it up, it could go 30 kilometers an hour. So it didn't have terrible mobility. Certainly not for what it was basically used for, which at the end of the day, in many cases it was used for supporting the infantry or assaulting slow-moving objectives. So it wasn't bad. Another thing is of course these tracks. And these model tracks, but these are accurate to the real thing. So the idea of these was basically very much inherited from the design lessons of the First World War. I mean, you can see more of a more than a passing resemblance to some of the track designs that came out of that period. Basically, the idea here was that they would, in theory, be pretty good at moving through mud, although I don't know how effective they were in real life.
Those
with the
are those
engine,
the Tamiya links.
They are the Tamiya links. Yep.
Oh, they're
So
nice.
yeah, so
Get that.
probably more reliable than the actual ones.
Hey, I've built them. Those things did not come apart. You could not detrack a Tamiya Char B1. And that here's a pretty good image of one. It's a B1 Bis in captured German service, looking very very pretty.
didn't
Yes.
the
Yeah, very bold.
didn't they have problems with the engine with the lubricants?
Oh, they had
I think
loads of issues. I mean, it was a French
yeah,
tank in the early war.
yeah, but I think one of them was they used castor oil, but it was a specific type. It wasn't your just run of the mill castor oil, except the manuals for the crews didn't specify that it's
Uh,
not this, it's not a generic castor oil, so it's this special one. They just called it the same name, so the tank crews would just fill it up with standard castor oil and then just ruin the engine. But
Oh,
it's like,
that's
well,
nice.
yeah, they were told, oh yeah, we put castor oil in, but they didn't mention the fact that it was a different. It was actually a different oil altogether. So they just chucked in regular castor oil and screw the engine.
That's like AK
replace.
Interactive telling me that I can thin their real colors lacquer paints
Oh,
with acrylic thinner for my airbrush, and then completely gumming it up.
Pretty
you
much
should. You, yeah,
same
you
thing.
should sue them.
Oh yeah,
Give me one new Iwata Neo. One.
one.
Now, one thing about this tank was that in general, it did not have the best suspension. I mean, you think of tanks like, for argument's sake, the M18 Hellcat, right, which used torsion bar suspension later in the war. And you could see that it had a fair amount of suspension travel, so which gave it pretty good off-road mobility. But if you look at this diagram here of the suspension design for this tank, it doesn't have a lot. So I do believe that like occasionally what you would have is if you see these side skirts here, or not skirts, but the side panels. Sometimes over rough ground, the tracks would literally bash right into it. So yeah, not the best off-road mobility, primarily because of
Mm,
suspension.
Well, that's actually pretty interesting because you said it was designed to cross trenches and to go over, yeah, obstacles like trenches and stuff. So that's a pretty bad design flaw, right?
I can just see the whole tank just bouncing around. No suspension softening it, just the whole thing just jumping up and down.
Yeah.
just bottoming out all the time.
So one cool thing, though, I think you guys might be interested in was, with regards to mobility, is actually the transmission. So one thing about the Char B1 is if you look at the 75mm gun in the hull, it has no horizontal traverse, right? So there was no gunner per se for the hull gun. The gunner was actually the driver. So the idea here was basically that the transmission for this tank, and I can't really get into say the technical details, but basically it was made in such a way, and it was pretty over-engineered and pretty complex, but it would allow the driver to actually use, these two handles for driving normally, or he could actually, when the tank was moving too quickly, he could actually use his steering wheel
Hmm.
for fine-tuning the direction of the tank using this transmission, which basically meant that he could aim the hull gun.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure how often that feature was used, but probably more than once. And then in terms of the armor protection, I can't find a diagram of the actual armor on the internet, but I know that at least one of us has the B1 fired up on War Thunder right now.
Me. Yep.
Ezra,
So the armor
nice.
protection of the B1 was actually pretty decent, especially for its day, especially on the front. Uh, Especially when you consider that the main opponent it was facing, at least from an anti-tank gun perspective, was the PAC 37. So it was pretty well armored, and like the Matilda tank that we can see here, there is at least one case for each tank where they actually just drove right over anti-tank guns instead of engaging them directly. They were well armored, very much so, and a lot of German anti-tank rifles at the time were basically unable to do anything but break its track links.
Yeah, it turns out despite all of the engine problems and the messing with the oil and stuff, makes a really good War Thunder vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically just a bunker with 2 guns. Bunker with 2 guns.
Well, to a certain extent, that was what the 75 was for. That the tank would basically just sit there and more or less be used like field artillery.
Yeah. Or just like a moving Maginot Line.
Yeah, kind of. And that did play into the doctrine of how it was used a bit.
Moving Maginot Line with cool camo.
Yes.
So, I guess now we're
Freeze.
talking about everyone's favorite, but the armament of the tank.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
the main gun of the tank was not actually what was on the turret. The main armament was the 75mm hull gun, of which we can see a profile and side view here. This was a relatively low velocity cannon. It was adapted from a field gun that was used during the First World War. Basically, yeah, it was fixed with no traverse onto the front armor of the tank. It was served by a loader, and then it was actually aimed by the driver, who had the ability to control the elevation as well as the traverse, as we discussed before. It could fire high explosive rounds, armor piercing rounds, I believe, to a certain extent, as well as armor piercing high explosive rounds. But the latter two rounds were not very effective, so that most of the time it was carrying high explosive.
Just out of like curiosity, I might have missed this before, but do you think the Americans, when they were making the M3 Lees, like, you know, looked at the Char B1 and thought like, oh, this is a good idea?
I'm not actually sure, and like I'm not an expert on the M3, but with the B1, what you have is basically the 75mm gun was actually the original intended armament of the tank, right? The turret was only supposed to carry machine guns originally, but
Sure.
the 75, really for all intents and purposes, you can almost think of the way that the Char was originally going to be used as being sort of like the Stug, where with the Stug you have very limited traverse on the gun. It's sort of a similar doctrine with the Char B1, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't influence the design of the Lee, at least superficially.
Right.
Although it was nice that the Lee
It
had
was sort of
traverse.
to be used as like, I don't know if you've seen those like late war concepts with like E50s, but it also has like another gun on top.
I have never seen that. Is that something from Trumpeter?
No, like I've just seen drawings of it, but I'm sure Trumpeter would be the company to do something like that. But yeah, it's like 50, but with like around the cupola, there's like a bit of like it's more than just a machine gun type of thing. It's like another second cannon that can run 360, that type of thing.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So there was a 75mm gun, right? Now, originally, it was expected that the turret for the tank, because they generally did anticipate there would be a 360-degree rotating turret on the top of it, they originally thought it would have two 13mm machine guns, right? But as the years progressed, and as the French recognized that the Germans were developing, heavier and heavier armor, they began to realize that they would have to have some sort of anti-tank armament for the tank, because really the 75mm gun is not very effective if the tank can't literally traverse itself as fast as the tank that's maneuvering around it, right? So they have these cast turrets made for them, and basically originally they have the short, I want to say 47mm gun, and that's basically how you can tell a B1 apart from the B1 Bis, which is its upgraded model. The B1s have the short 47, in this turret, whereas the B1 Bis tanks, which are basically the tank killer version, they have the longer SA-35. And this is a profile of it here. As this is one off of a B1 Bis. As you can see, it's got a shoulder stock for the commander. Yeah.
I always liked that to stabilize it.
Ooh. So where does the B1 Ter fit in?
Well, we're gonna get to that. So I guess
Okay.
the B1 basically was shown to be more or less ineffective at fighting tanks. Basically, more or less because it had too short of an anti-tank gun, right? It just wasn't really able to defeat the armor. So the B1 Bis is an improved model of it, and really the main difference between the two, the B1 Bis had a better radio system, but the main thing was it had a better anti-tank gun, right? So the most famous, Char B1 would probably be this one, Ure, because in Ston, it fought almost the entire German Panzer company, and it knocked out quite a few of them. Funnily enough, though, it was only there because it was separated from the rest of its unit, because the B1s had such poor ability to communicate in between themselves, and even in the between the crews, that basically the driver was just driving forward, even as the commander was telling him to stop, and they drove right into a German Panzer company.
Isn't that also on YouTube by a guy called Janhop or something? He makes animations. I think he made one about the Char B1 Bis defeating the whole German company. But I might be wrong about that.
No, you're probably right. It is a
I
pretty famous
think I've
story.
seen that.
Yeah, but this is basically sort of widely regarded as the definitive B1 model.
Sure.
However, there were some issues, and I guess now we get to all collectively crap on this design.
Woohoo.
Okay, so
And
what can we all think of were some issues with this tank?
well, engine problems.
Yeah. Maneuverability.
Yeah,
Everyone's overworked to hell.
it'd be important to note that there were only 4 people in this tank. You've got the driver.
Oh.
If you like the driver, you not only have to drive the tank, you also have to aim the cannon.
Right.
Take your orders. If you're the commander, you have to command the tank, load the gun, and fire it, as well as manage your machine gun.
Mm-hmm.
The loader for the
Well, that's what-
75 and the radio operator had a pretty easy time, though.
Wait, so did the driver actually have to aim the 76?
Yep.
75?
He literally did.
Oh, so
that's why-
he had the sight.
I don't know what the sight on this gun actually was, to be quite honest. I haven't seen a picture of it.
Like, I know the driver's the one who'd point it, but point it at the target, but who would actually dial the range of fire?
There. Oh, I'm going into the War Thunder X-ray to get another look at this.
Ezra, I don't even know if it did have a sight.
Oh.
It had, it had basically an elevation ruler, for lack of a better term, an angle calculator.
Right.
So if you were firing it indirectly, you could figure out, okay, well, we need to fire it at this angle, and then it could be elevated to that. But as far as direct fire, I don't actually remember seeing a sight for it.
B2.
Maybe they were just looking for the barrel and then load the shell and just fire. Looking for the barrel to see if it would hit the target.
That would be a very French thing
maybe.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would work, I guess. One of the other problems with these tanks was basically, as I mentioned before, how they communicate, right? So there was no intercom, right, for the crew. So one of the things was the engine was loud, right? So communicating in and amongst the crew was already pretty hard. But for most tanks, they didn't actually have a radio, especially for the original B1. They still were reliant on flags, signal flags mostly for communication. And when it came to the radio, there were 2 types. So all the original tanks were equipped with a radio that was more or less Morse code. It was basically a telegraph radio, which is okay if you're just sitting still and you're communicating, across a longer distance. But you can't speak through it, right? So if you're in battle, I mean,
Right.
it's kind of useless. So a few tanks, actually more than a few tanks that were of the B1 Bis standard, received a better radio, which basically permitted voice communication between tanks. So that was good. But the problem was the engine noise. The engines were so loud that they couldn't actually, the radio signals could not actually be heard. So a lot of
Ooh.
tanks actually retained their older telegraph type radios just because they could actually, at least read the instructions. So
Yeah,
yeah,
the radio operator's sitting right next to the engine.
literally right next to the engine. Yeah.
Actually, interesting. There's ammunition like just on the floor right next to the engine. I'm guessing there's a firewall there, but still.
Well,
Like the floor is just lined with ammunition.
yeah. Well, as we can see, I mean, as well armored and as ferocious looking as the B1 was, quite a few of them got knocked out. And, more than a few were knocked out just by, ditching themselves or getting stuck.
Getting hauled
like
away by German tractors.
Well, yeah, like it really, well, it's a really World War One type design, and it really shows how, I guess, prepared the French were.
For sure.
I think you really just see that they had the idea of the tank just being used as a mobile bunker and not actually a tank that would be used against lighter tanks or faster tanks, just kind of like a bunker design, you know.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah. And I think it
They
also.
Like,
Go ahead.
They definitely didn't take into account the Germans having turning their 88 flaks on them as well.
Yeah.
No, that tear this thing apart.
Yeah, I think it's also important. Like, the B1 is a good lesson in why, when you're looking at a tank, you can't just consider like the hard factors, like its mobility, its armor, and its armament. You've also got to think of things which are not as obvious, like how they communicate or what the visibility from it is like, because this thing did not have good visibility at all.
No.
Yeah, I think the commander's cupola was like you'd probably call it hand cranked, but it was, I think the French had this design where the commander put his helmet into a slot and then rotated it with his neck.
They did have that
think-
design,
Ooh.
yes.
Which, nothing
Yikes.
like moving like maybe 100 kilos of steel using your neck and trying to stop it.
We've determined that your injuries are not service related. Yeah.
so like, it was pretty good armor, but noting that it also struggles with mobility, wouldn't it just be easy to get around and like shoot from the side?
For sure.
Yeah. Well,
It's really flat on the side there too.
right towards the end of the B1's development, they came up with the the B1 Ter, right? So, yeah, this is basically a general improvement over the B1 Bis. Does anyone have it in War Thunder?
No.
No, almost did. My friend does.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
have no French tanks in War Thunder.
Yeah,
That was an
French
amazing
one sucks.
segue, by the way.
Yeah, but
I'm the
basically,
Japanese.
yeah, it's a general improvement, mostly in regards to armor, if I'm correct. The tracks also, I think they're the same, but I think there was a plan to actually change them at one point. Yeah, but in general, the B1 Ter was, where the B1 is an incremental improvement over the B1. The B1 Bis is an incremental improvement over the B1 in terms of armament. The B1 Ter is an improvement over the B1 Bis in terms of armor protection. And like you can see on the side, it's got, some more armor plate around the sides, as well as some over the tracks, as well as some over the front. Yeah.
Looking at the armor over the tracks, and like as the tanker, you'd look at it and go, "Oh, that's going to be a bitch when we lose the track."
And they did lose tracks. They did do that. Not unlike the T14. Yeah.
Oh, actually, the B1 Ter had an added crew member.
Oh, it did?
Oh, where?
Yeah, I had a crew of 5. City. I don't even know what his job is.
They just cram an extra guy into an already cramped tank.
Oh, it has 2 loaders.
Oh.
Interesting.
So the commander didn't have to do everything in the turret then.
Right.
Well, that
Well,
would help.
I mean, I think he'd help load the 70. I'm not sure.
Well, that was one thing that always plagued the French tanks with the one-man turrets, was that their combat effectiveness was really low because the commander had to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that just seems like just way too much work overload, trying to tell everyone what to do whilst loading and trying to find a target and all of that. Just bollocks to that, eh?
Yeah, no thank you.
Give me an M5.
Oh yeah, love M5s.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the tank.
Mhm.
Before we talk about models and how the tank fits into the model space, uh, lessons that can be derived from the B1.
Get better.
Yeah, just don't do this. I don't know.
Don't be French.
Don't be French.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
That's solid, honestly.
Cool. Well, speaking of don't be French, I guess we should talk about the models of the B1.
Right.
So, there are a few of them. That's it. Just take in how beautiful they are. Look at that box art.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I especially like the Italy box art.
Yeah, that was. I like their 50th scale stuff. It's pretty good. Yeah, but there are a few kits for this. So, for instance, we've got, I think one of the first model kits that actually came out of the B1 was this one by Matchbox, and this goes back a little ways. It has the FT17 and the B1 Bis. I remember seeing one guy on Kitmaker making it, and it even came with a little diorama base, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
As far as like small scale goes, there's also the Trumpeter, which apparently, as far as I've heard, is actually really good kit. I know Night Shift did one.
Oh yeah, it's a free French, right?
Yes. Oh no, it looks
Oh
pretty
yeah,
good.
is that the one that he like sort of revised? I don't know how to he restored it.
I think
Oh
so.
no, that was the KV one.
Yeah, that was the KV1, I think. But I think the trumpeter set had some fitting issues at the hull, so there was a huge gap at the front hull, and
Oh
neither one
right,
in the
yeah. And I think the front plate was kind of inaccurate. I can't remember.
So there you go.
Also, isn't Revell selling those matchbox sets at the moment?
They
Just
are, yeah.
reboxing them?
Yeah,
Because
they are.
I think I kind of remember that set with the Char B1 Bis and the diorama base and the FT17. Because I was thinking of getting it one day, but I wasn't sure about it because they are quite old,
Hmm.
and
Honestly, for how old they are, they're pretty nice.
Oh, they're not
I
bad.
actually,
built I built one of the old Matchbox Panzer IIs. I was surprised by how nicely detailed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that Renault set or the Matchbox set there that well, I saw it on the Great Hobbies website, but
Hmm.
I don't know if it was in stock, but it was there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think we have Matchbox anymore. We used to, but now we've got Revell, so it would have to be
Yeah,
the
it was
Revell
the
V-Box.
Renault version
Yeah.
of it.
I mean, in fairness, in small scale, it is a pretty fun tank to do, just because you've got all the rivet detail and all that, and the tracks aren't too complicated. And then, of course, if we go up in scale, Italeri makes a B1 Bis in wargaming
That one's
scale.
nice.
Yeah. Good camouflage on it. I like the box art.
Hmm.
And as far as 35th scale goes, I know of the Tamiya B1 Bis, and this actually started out as a motorized version, or it either started out as a motorized kit or it was later motorized. But basically, there are a lot of features on this kit which are basically intended so that you can put an electric motor in it and it'll just drive away, which is pretty cool.
Yes, to end up stuck in a ditch.
Yes, it would be a perfect diorama.
The real one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually ended up.
One good thing about French tanks is like for modeling, their camos are so varied and just out there. They make really good modeling subjects.
Yeah, they're always really bright and yeah, they're fun to make. Speaking of camouflages, so this is that Tamiya model of the B1 Bis. This is a real tank that's it's modeled after 253 tank 253, I believe, which was named Fantasque. And this was basically a tank where the French army had a program in 1939 where they basically wanted to see if we painted a tank, if we got actual artists to do a landscape painting of a forest on a tank, would it basically allow it to blend in better with like as a camouflage? And then that's what I actually did with this model, and you can see how well that worked once it gets weathered up and with dud and must on it. I don't really expect this to fool anybody when it's sitting out in the field.
Yeah. Too.
Like, oh, there's a small forest over there.
Hans, why is the forest shooting at us?
The forest has 2 guns.
Why is the forest speaking French?
Yeah, but to me it gets
They
pretty
would have been
fun.
better off making it into a bloody a barn or something.
I don't
Looks
remember
much
ever.
more like a barn.
Yeah, there was one B1
Yeah.
that was actually just painted red, like almost like red oxide.
Why?
Ah, I don't know. I
The
think
crews just gave up.
I
Like,
think they just literally didn't have time to paint it.
They painted it red?
I haven't.
That's like leftover like barn paint or something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, the Tamiya 1 through 35 scale kit is good. All you have to
yeah,
really
it looks good.
all you have to really do is add rivets on the cast gun mount. That's about it.
About how long did the camo take you?
3 days. Which
Did you
like
add everything?
if you just think of like 3 full modeling sessions just painting, that's long enough. But it was painted
Oh,
with
I like
yeah, it was painted with like 5-year-old Tamiya acrylics, which were half gummed up. So there you go.
Did you airbrush or brush paint the camo?
I airbrushed the base color, which was like kind of a medium green, and I just painted the rest of it with a brush. Yeah.
nice. I've seen it in person. It's a privilege.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool tank. Well, speaking of models, we've got to talk about what we've been getting up to.
Oh yes. Well, this is my AFV Club 135th scale shot cal Dillette. And here you can see it. These pictures are kind of outdated now, but here it is, just base coated. It has decals, a pin wash, a dot filter. Looking pretty good, I think. I'm happy with how it's turned out.
Incredible.
Yeah, thank you. I like the battery RAM.
Yeah.
Yeah, the battering
That's
ram
on
goes
the
hard.
Mm-hmm.
that's on the forum on Kitmaker.
Yes. Yeah, I'm posting in this Centurion group.
I think it needs more machine guns on top.
Yeah, you're kind of missing some there.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
off being painted.
You know what
They're
that
on
thing
it now.
needs? It needs a crows.
Oh, that would be pretty
Pro
neat.
Centurion, that'll be awesome.
Ezra, what you use for the canvas cover on the mantlet? Because I know a lot of guys were struggling with theirs.
AFV Club included a really bad rubber mantlet that I glued on there, and then I had to fill because it broke in a few places.
Oh, nice.
But it's rubber?
Yeah, it was rubber, like a really dense. The same rubber they used for the tracks.
Those are
Oh.
rubber tracks?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, those are good.
Yeah, thanks. They side skirts help a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
How do you like the AFV Club stuff?
It's good. It's pretty detailed, but there's a ton of ejector hit marks.
Word. Cool. Okay. You were also working on a Stug, weren't you?
Yes, the Tamiya one with Tacom tracks, a Dragon tools, a bunch of scratch built metal stuff, the photo etch included in the kit, and a Danger Close box. And that was actually airbrushed with craft paint, believe it or
Whoa. Really?
not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now that kit comes with like the Aber aftermarket set already in it, right?
No, it's Tamiya branded
Oh,
photo
okay.
etch. Yeah, it comes with like 4 pieces.
Yeah, the metal barrel definitely looks nice. Those always
Yeah,
are fun to use.
it has some really nice rifling on the inside.
Oh, you got rifling on your metal barrel? I bought a Type 16 metal barrel and I didn't get anything. I got a smoothbore.
Mm-mm. Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nearly done. I'm working on the wet mud effects right now. That box on the back is just base coat. I ended up ripping it off and painting it separately.
Looks great, especially having the interior available to see.
Yeah, I'll probably put a figure in it. And and then yeah, finally the last one is my little Zvezda 1/100 scale KV1, which I really enjoyed building and painting up. It was, an experience. Tried a lot of new weathering techniques.
That looks great.
Oh. Yeah, I
Thank
can
you.
see that the like where it penetrated on the turret.
Yeah.
What'd you use for your leaves?
I used the Knock Autumn Leaf set.
Huh. That looks good. Really in scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still amazed how you can do that much detail in that small scale.
Mm-hmm. That's not out of the box. I did a bunch of scratch work
Well, you'd
They're
have
to
like
to.
get it. Yeah. I
How
cut
are
off
the
the.
Zvezda kits? Like, they're 1/100 scale stuff in general.
they're nice.
Yeah, for the
actually.
money, they're nice.
Yeah. And what about
Yeah,
the
go buy 'em.
texture? Did you use like a Mr. Surfacer or anything on it?
I just used Tamiya basic gray putty with acetone.
Okay. Yeah, it does not look 1/100 scale, that's for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm interested. Did you use an oil dot filter on it? Because it kind of looks like it, but I'm not sure if it would be effective in that scale, or even if it would be too effective in that scale.
Yep, I used a dot filter. I used what's it called? Where you use the oil paints to like accentuate different details. Not a
A
pit.
Mhm.
panel line wash?
No, where you'll paint a line on and then blend the line out.
Streaking?
No, what Night Shift does, like ambient occlusion. That's what.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
right. Kind of creating fake shadows.
Yeah,
You're saying?
creating fake shadows. Right, exactly.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I did
Oh,
that.
how did you do the planks on the side? Like it's chipped very nicely.
Oh, thank you. I got some little I got popsicle sticks and sanded them down by hand, cut them to the size I wanted, then painted blue on there, and then just sanded it down.
Oh, you
And then
just
put a
sanded it?
few, yeah, then just put a few really
Oh.
light washes.
So,
Oh,
so
nice,
they're
okay.
actually made out of wood?
Yep. It took like
Oh, I
20
thought it was
minutes.
plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some of that, whatever you used for the leaves, because I'm going to be doing a lot more 1/100 scale.
Finally, I will be the only one kit maker doing it.
Wolf isn't here, is he? He's
No,
AWOL.
he
No, I don't know.
Let's just appreciate his models.
Yeah.
yes,
Wolf scale models, cool guy. He's
very.
making a church,
That
And then
church
just
is
destroying
fucking
it.
amazing.
the Church of Saint Javelin.
Oh, drop the Instagram in the description.
We will, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like his
Yeah.
sandbags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say.
Does anyone know if the sandbags are self-made, like from epoxy putty or milliput and stuff, or are they from? Does anyone know if he used a kit part for it, like resin stuff?
Oh man,
I'm
I
guessing he probably did it himself. I
I was
mean,
going to say he
uh,
usually does it
Yeah.
himself.
yeah.
Considering the
He's pretty-
stuff on the back of the tank, it's probably epoxy pud.
Yeah. You can probably you can ask him. He's in the server and he's the group chat.
Everybody ping him right now.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's going to put that diorama when he's done with it though, because that church is tall.
Right.
That whitewash he did looks pretty good as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ezra, can you use the dollar store craft paint for whitewashes? Does it work well?
No, because it's really grainy.
Oh.
Yeah. I only
What do
use
you
the.
use for? Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask what you use.
Oh, for whitewashes?
Yeah.
I'll use Pitaka paints or Vallejo, and then just the Tresemme ultra fine hairspray.
Nice.
Callum, what do you use?
I generally use Tamiya enamels. Then
Oh,
just
okay.
use a brush and just with a bit of thinner and just scrub it away.
Hmm.
Yeah, their enamels
Works
are
pretty
pretty
well.
useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to really make sure that if you're using enamel on enamel to put a few clear coats underneath, because I have forgotten more than once and scrubbed away. Yeah, whitewash base. Yeah, I've done that before.
Ooh.
That was real stupid. Nothing like spending so much time and then say, "Oh, look, I've got to redo this."
Yeah, and then I guess this was another thing he's been working on in M113 from Ezra. Was the chocolate chip used in the first Gulf War?
I think so.
Yeah, it'd have to be, wouldn't it?
I know it's OIF.
Yeah, but chalky chip camo. We all like that.
Oh, who doesn't? Yeah.
So detailed. Wow.
The overspray on the chevrons.
And I know this was a diorama he had just finished.
Right.
Is
Another-
that just like the craft moss as camo?
I don't think so. Although
Like
craft
the
moss,
stuff that you used on your caribou.
yeah, I mean craft moss is definitely really useful, especially if you mix it with like water and PVA. You can separate
Mhm.
it from its strands and just really get it into scale. And then if you add stuff like little leaves to it, it looks pretty good.
Sure.
The way you soak it in water and PVA, or
Yeah, basically I just mix water and PVA and then dunk the moss in it, and then that allows you to actually like position it on the vehicle to add kind of like a look of weight to it. So that's always good.
right? And then it's not so brittle or anything.
Yeah, exactly. This is just what I'm working on right now. Just finished the Italeri 1/32 scale CF104D. I was talking with you guys earlier about using alclad paints. It's a pretty good alternative to bare metal foil if aircraft are what you're into. And then I'm working on a Hasegawa 1/48 scale F2A, which is basically the Japanese version of the F-16.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I basically the big thing right now is 3D printing. So getting the resin printer up and going and actually doing stuff with it, mostly 1/100 scale, but also now a 35th scale NLAW.
Right.
And that AV monstrosity.
Yeah, the the poor man's BMPT. Yeah.
The Priest is nice. The 3D printed birds.
Callum, what are you working on?
So that one's that one's the Tasca 35th scale jumbo. That's currently I've basically built the entire model except for the tracks. I haven't done anything for that because I still need to do the diorama base for it. So I'll do the tracks at the same time, make it try and fit in. But that was actually using the AK olive drab modulation set.
Nice.
Well,
How do you like
tried
that?
to. It's actually pretty good, eh? It's yeah, I just basically went from the bottom up, just using the different shades, and then after that, it looked a little bit too monotone. So what I did was I just got various shades of the olive drab on a wet palette, and then just kind of splattered it all over the tank, and then blended it in, just to try and make it a bit more, I don't know, weathered, distorted.
Yeah, that's a
Not
good
so,
idea.
not so much of a flat flat green. And then this is the first time I tried to do like damage. So like you can see on the front and on the mantlet following
Mm.
Night Shift's tutorial.
How did you do the texturing on the world there?
That was with Tamiya Putty and Extra Thin. So
Really?
yep,
And
just
it
mix
got
it.
that
And
little. That's how you got the like dot effect there.
yeah, not sure how that happened. I think it
Oh,
just dried a bit quickly. Yeah, yeah, it was accidental.
it looks nice.
It almost looks a bit like mud's being thrown up on it, just like a light layer of mud.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
How do you like the Tasca kit?
It was really well detailed. The suspension is workable, and
Oh yeah.
they've got a nice detail because the jumbo they just slapped on a whole lot of armor onto an existing Sherman. It made the suspension sit really down low, especially on the front. They've actually got it so when you're building the bogies, they give you a sheet of rubber, and you cut and add rubber to it to actually form the suspension for how high you want it to sit. Then that way, in the front one, you can make it sit. You can actually make it sit lower.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
you know, same to the just like the real tank. You know, it sat lower down, and the front particularly was pointing downwards because that suspension was literally at its limit. So you can actually model that. So it was
Angling.
They
yeah. So
turned
it's actually
the jumbo into a Char B1. No suspension travel.
no. I think the actual jumbo their instructions was don't take it off road because it ain't because the suspension was literally at its limit on flat ground. So I was trying to model that into it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then
what were the tracks? Indie links?
Nah, rubber. They're
Ah.
rubber tracks.
they're pretty well detailed for rubber tracks.
Yeah, they look
Yeah,
good.
they're pretty good.
The duck
Yeah.
bills especially.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the stowage, I like the whatever string you used for it. That looks really good.
That was just off that was a drawstring from a set of curtains that I've replaced. I literally went around the
Really?
whole house going, I need something for the rope, and that was during lockdown where I couldn't leave my house. So I was like, I can't go out and buy anything. What am I going to use? What am I going to use? So I went around the entire house. I was like, oh, this will do. Stripped it down to try and make it thinner. I still get comments going, oh, that the rope's out of scale. It's like, I know, but it's what I had at the time.
Honestly, it doesn't look that out of scale.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
No, it's nice.
Then
Improvise,
again, those were
adapt, overcome.
yeah. I mean, those were the comments from Reddit, so you know it's going to be
Wow.
good.
Reddit doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Nah.
Actually, which is it a figure from Master Books or is it a resin figure? Is it plastic or?
No, that's a mini art one. That's their
mini art.
close quarters one. I've got
Uh-huh.
so I got their flesh tones kit as well to get better at figure painting. And then when I painted that guy first up, he looked like Freddy Krueger in cosplay, just the way I painted his face. I had to do it again. There's a photo on my Instagram of it. It looks terrifying.
I'm
Oh.
Yeah, it looks good though. Mini Art
Yeah.
knows their figures.
Yeah, mini art was, in my opinion, one of the best plastic figure producers, but somehow they sometimes manage to get them a little small. I don't know if you compare them to other figures, especially resin ones, they're always kind of small in comparison.
For
But
sure.
if you just use one figure on the tank, it's totally fine. But if you want to mix figures, different companies, um, using mini art, they always tend to look a little bit out of scale, just a little bit too small. But if you just use one figure or only mini art figures, it's all fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
hey, it
didn't
does look
quite
like
fit
Freddy
the
Krueger.
machine gun. Yeah, his hands didn't actually fit the machine gun as well, so I've had to modify that one a bit. And
Hmm.
actually, that tarp that you see next to him, I just made that out of paper and dipped it in matte varnish.
Yeah,
Oh.
it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the star on the side of the turret, did you basically just like paint over that with like almost a sponge?
No, that's how the decal comes in the kit.
Oh,
That's
really?
how it actually.
Really?
Yeah, that's the decal. Yeah, it gives you a
Oh.
selection of 3, each one being more and more deteriorated. The third one is basically like 40% of the star left. Yeah,
That's
Hmm.
really cool.
It's
yeah,
actually a great idea.
yeah, it was
Go,
actually pretty
go.
cool, that one.
Yeah, Tasca seems to do some interesting stuff with their kits that you don't see other manufacturers doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the on this one as well, the rear exhaust you can actually fold up or down. They've actually the way you build it, it actually moves as
Huh.
Huh.
well. Yeah, you can actually put it up or raise it up or down depending on how you want it in the situation.
Hmm.
Nice. And then are those bricks the ones from the Tamiya set?
Yeah, that's going to be part of the diorama. I've also got about 5 hedgehog traps to paint and
Wow.
two other Tamiya figures.
Yeah, what do you think you're going to do as far as like weathering is concerned for the bricks? Are you going to be doing anything for those?
They're weathered at the moment. Just doing like filters and
Yeah.
washes, and then it's just got a bit of oil paint on it. They're basically done now. So yeah.
They look good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of the bricks, are you going to model the plaster in between the bricks or just going to leave it off?
Not sure. Haven't decided that yet.
Okay, yeah, because everyone seems to have their own technique for doing that, so I just was interested into what you would use if you would edit.
I'm still learning how to do dioramas and making things look realistic.
Okay, sure, yeah, no problem.
Guys, you can buy a 1/72nd scale XF85 Goblin.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Who makes it?
Yeah. This company called 12 Squared, and
144?
no, 1/72nd scale.
Oh, never mind.
Oh,
12 scale. Is it
I
resin?
plastic.
Really?
Whoa.
Mm. Oh man.
How many
What do you?
goblins did the B-36 carry?
I think it could carry 2. I'm not sure.
Well, now you're
What
going
do
to
you?
have to add them, eh?
I
Oh,
know.
yeah.
Should I have one hanging out of the bomb bay?
I think you should have one hanging out of the bomb bay and then use like some plastic rod to show one that's like literally just being dropped. That'd be cool.
Ooh. Yeah.
I can't find a picture of one in a B-36 bomb bay. I can only find one in a B-29.
Jack, what have you been working on?
Well, this is my Turpits. I talked about it in the last episode too, but this is I just decided to nab all the pictures from Kitmaker and show the process because I talked about it before, but it's a lot easier with pictures, so maybe I could go over it again. But
Yeah.
this is my unique approach to doing a custom balsa deck on my Turpits. I started with the just scribing planks into it's 2 sheets of balsa taped together to make it wide enough. And I printed off some a photocopied version of this plastic deck onto the balsa one. Shaded all of the detail in, so leaves an imprint. Then I had to cut this plastic away from the rest of the ship there, and I actually did that part at school with a coping saw in my shop class, and there's a hacksaw in the background too. I used that for some straight cuts, but it looked really nice when I was done. I was like actually really impressed by the outcome there. And then the last one is just me super gluing details back on, and that's basically where that sits for now. I'll have to glue it into the hull soon because I also have some metal struts that I also did at school. So yeah, it's all coming together.
Nice.
That's
And
a really unique way of doing it. That's for sure. It looked really good. I remember you showed me pictures at the hobby store, and it's definitely coming along.
yeah, it and on the next slide, uh,
Oh God.
that's getting to work on the photo etch.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
Yeah,
That looks painful.
it is painful, especially that turret bit there. That
Mhm.
little tiny AA gun was so tedious. That took me an hour just to do that turret, and that's not even that
Oh,
detailed right
Oh jeez.
That's just
Yeah,
giving me a headache just thinking of that one.
You know the worst thing for me is the
yeah.
railings. I don't know how you got those on, man.
So that piece with the railings there, uh, that is the first of 4 platforms that stack on
No.
top of each other, all with
Oh,
No.
railings. Yeah,
Aw.
it's
Isn't
nothing like
that
having
the
yeah.
set one, Revel? Because I
What?
know Revel did a set like that.
Oh, this is a Tamiya one.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's the
Jeez.
Tamiya Turpits with the Edward photo etch, and then
Mm-hmm.
whatever scratch build stuff I was doing in the last slide. Yeah, that's how that's coming. Uh,
Looks good, that's for
yeah.
sure.
oh yeah.
It does. It does.
Jack, what's this? Is this actually part of the Turpits? Because it
Yeah,
looks like a
that's
barn.
part of it. It does look like a barn, but it goes like on the sides and on each of those, I don't know how to describe it, like scaffolding pieces. You put like a lifeboat on each of them.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Do
Huh.
do you know what it is?
Yeah, I'm not sure what
Because
it is. I'm just modeling it.
because I think I know what it might be. I think because it kind of looks like the plane hangar. So if you fold the wings of the planes, they could put both the
Oh,
Oh
planes
yeah,
yeah.
into
because there's
them.
this door right here, and
Yeah,
you got like
okay.
a little door to access the
Right.
plane. This probably could fold up
That
though.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
think
then
they
the
should have a
plane.
crane nearby.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a crane nearby that I also did, and then there's also like a rail planes to sit in
Mhm.
when they're in service.
Yeah, it probably is a
Mhm.
hangar.
That
Will
makes
make
sense.
sense to me.
Your planes look good as well as the boats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the boats go on top and the planes go in there, I guess.
Yeah, that
Huh.
would make sense because you've almost got like the outline of the hull on each side.
Yeah, and that's a little bit blurry of a picture, but those are 2 planes, 4 boats, and there's 2 barns, one on each side. All of this stuff is symmetrical. I gotta do duplicates of everything.
Nice.
Nothing
Takes me
quite
back
like
to
having
when I
something
was
to look forward to.
Yeah.
takes me back to when I was doing the Yamato and there was like 24 AAA turrets.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, well, that's definitely going to turn out well, I'd say.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Absolutely. Actually, I've got a question. For the planes, does the kit contain decals like for the crosses and stuff, or do you have to hand paint them?
I'm pretty sure the kit comes with decals, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not I'm not too sure. Like I'm like 80% sure it comes with decals, but if I had to
Mhm.
hand paint them, oh no.
Okay.
Yeah, to me at 350 scale stuff, if it has aircraft, it usually does include the insignia for them as decals.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because the I've also got an Enterprise that I'm also pretty scared to start, and it comes with decals for all the planes.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I imagine painting the crosses on them with a fine brush would be
A headache.
quite yeah. heavy.
Yeah. So that's how that's going.
Nice.
I'm excited for it. Actually, I'm really looking forward to seeing more progress of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep you all posted.
Yeah, and anyone who doesn't know, you can follow Jack's build blog on Kitmaker Network.
Yeah, I just got started on Kitmaker recently, and I've been posting more and more pictures to it. I'll post some more photo etch updates to that probably later this afternoon once we stop recording. But yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah.
And I started working on my M5 finally yesterday after taking a trip to the Canadian War Museum, just seeing it in person. Started putting the kit together yesterday, and it's going to be probably going to be in the Great Canadian Campaign group build on Kitmaker.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but here are some reference pictures. I don't know, just some ideas. The one on the left is like a 4th Armor Division scout car there, or scout vehicle. It's a light tank.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, so maybe I'll get some decals from Dennis and his small business, autoloader.com. Is it?
Yeah,
Autoloader.com?
I'll load decals. You can find. Basically, it's at this point, it's just through my kit maker profile. But yeah, um, if you want, next time you're in the store, I'll bring you some of those 4th Armored Division markings if you want.
Okay, yeah, we'll keep in touch about that. I'll yeah, we'll see how far this project goes because I've also got my big side project. So yeah, I'll keep in contact about that.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool to do the tank on the left. You see all the stowage, and it's got like it looks, a bunch of tree branches on that. That'd be pretty neat.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. See, the thing with that is I don't even know where to start.
Dollarama moss, man. Dollarama moss.
How are you
I
finding the
think
kit? I've built this one previously. It's a pretty good kit. How are you finding it?
Yeah, I'm liking it so far. It's really nice. It's I don't know, everything fits great. And especially like the bogies and the like how the undercarriage all fits together. It's really nice.
I was pressuring Jack to before he decided to do the tank with the turret. I was pressuring him to do more of the reconnaissance M5A1s that were from the Canadian Army in Italy and northwestern Europe, where they basically just like took the turret off. But yeah, I think it's going to look really nice like this. And good that
Yeah.
you were able to get reference photos.
Yeah, I found them on this, I don't know, website, military history books. Just, I don't know. It was just a website just with a bunch of pictures of M5s, which was cool.
Nice. I know.
Just a photo dump.
Ezra, you actually posted a link to this in the server, but there's a Canadian author, Harold Scarup, and he was a member of the Canadian Forces, but he like runs a website now, and he's an author primarily, but for like basically every tank that was in Canadian service and every aircraft, he's got like a bunch of reference photos for it.
Oh yeah.
Wait, actually?
Yeah, if you want, I'll send you the link to it later. But like, I remember when I was working on the Centurion, like I got all my reference photos from his website. He's got some really great stuff, and he's actually also written like a short history on each of them, which is really nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, you'd have to show me.
and he does a lot of like the modern and Cold War Canadian armor as well. So things like the
That's Maple
M109s.
Dew heaven.
Yeah, yeah, literally.
One of us has to build that. Oh, is it a Firefly with the corrugated iron armor?
Oh yeah,
Yes, that one.
that'd be cool. Do some rust effects on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Word. Let me see. Is there any other slides here? Ah, that's it. Um, Does anybody else want to give any updates as to works in progress?
Well,
I mean,
I could talk about a diorama, but I'm basically finished with it, so not
Yeah, tell
much
us
work
about
in
it.
progress anymore.
yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
hear it.
Huh? Right, so I guess you all have seen that one or two pictures which I sent on the whip channel about the 1/35th scale diorama. I got more pictures on my Instagram, but I didn't post them on the whip because it was basically finished, so it's not a whip anymore. What is missing is sign. I wanted to add like a metal plate on the front with the name of the diorama.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, if you take it seriously, it's not finished, so it might be still considerable as a whip.
Well, you know what I'll do is
Um,
I'll link your Instagram in the description, and I'll also like do picture posts on our channel for all our subscribers to see with yeah, any work in progress photos you want to show us.
Yeah.
oh yeah, sure. That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah, metal plates
Um,
though. Do you have like like a plaque shop near you?
I've got one which makes those signs for door signs, and they also have metal plating. And I wanted to see whether or not it will be possible to kind of get a diorama name on them because I don't think it will be a big deal. Um, but I have to look into that. So if not, I might need to order it online somewhere. But yeah, I haven't looked too much into it yet because I think the door sign shop will do it probably. Um, yeah. What I want to talk about. Yeah, what's funny about the diorama is I started it on I think March 8th, 2021, and I know this because it was the first time I took a picture. I was just comparing two LMGs, like one which came with a set for half track and one which I got from an aftermarket set, basically just the Tamiya weapon set which they sell. And it was the first time I really got started on the project, and I finished this project on March 8th, 2022. So it took me exactly a year. Well, not exactly
Wow.
because I was working on other projects along the way, like I think a World War One diorama on 1/76 scale, and also these 1/100 group build models which we did. But apart from that, I wasn't working every day on it because you get tired if you just work on diorama every day and all, yeah. But yeah, it took me quite a while to finish. So I would say only taking into consideration the days where I actually worked on it, maybe like half a year, maybe even a bit longer, like 7 or 8 months. But actually a pretty long time. I think I spent most of the time painting all the figures because I was trying to make them as good as possible while still finishing them in a considerable amount of time. So like I wanted to finish them all, I think, in like 3 months, and it took me like 4 actually. Yeah, so a long time. But I was getting into face painting, so figure painting, paint flash, highlights. I was using a set from AK, but by that time I didn't know you actually have to mix the paints. I was just using the base color as a base coat, and it was really brownish looking. And then I used
Right.
the mid one for the for the more present highlights, and then the last one for the fine details. And it was just a mishmash of brownish and lighter colors. So yeah, I didn't know you had to mix them, but I figured it out along the way. I think while I was painting some of my figures, which go into the half truck, which were the last ones I painted, I actually got it kind of figured out, and they look more like flesh and not like just I don't know. They were looking like darker colored people, like with brownish skin tone, but not too dark. So just like when you're coming back from a summer holiday, but then they have really weird lines on their skin, which is lighter color, which it didn't look good at all. But
Yeah.
well, we all learn, I guess. Yeah, the figures were pretty fun. But I got tired of painting figures. Well, I think it was about 20 figures. I
Jeez.
got tired at some point.
Sure.
Yeah. The half tracks took a really long time. Um, I think kind of following Nightshift's approach on the soldier. The small tank hunter with 2 barrels.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
I didn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to add ambient occlusion, shadows and fake highlights and stuff, but I was too lazy for that. So I just used OLED filters, washes, chipping, rust tones, mud effects. Yeah, that's basically it. I think um, along the way, I really intended to make a smaller diorama, but then I ended up getting more and more stuff to it, like a car. I didn't intend on building a car, but then I wanted to have a red car on the sidewalk because it's kind of empty. Then I bought the luggage set from Mini Art,
Hmm.
which had coffins and what's it called, suitcases and um, boxes and all that kind of stuff. So that took some time to paint. I had some resin boxes, like wooden boxes, which I also painted. So getting all of these details out of the way was also, it took like 2 months, maybe. So yeah, it was the most of the time it was just painting details, which really got boring at some points. But I'm just glad I did it because they really look good in the end. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's about my one scale diorama. And I got you mentioned it earlier, the ugly looking Sherman, which I don't know if you can call it a Sherman, but the
Oh,
crab color firefly thing. Um, I think I wrote it in the group chat. I got the idea from Willis and Doodles on Instagram, and I looked in the comments, and someone said a scale model should build a model of it, and I was like, yep, that's gonna be me. So,
Yep.
but I was kind of broke at that moment, so I had like $30, and I didn't want to make it a huge project like 1/35 scale. I was looking for 1/2 scale kits, and I went to a model shop and I got all these small, these vintage classic FX sets, and
Yeah.
exactly. So I just used them, and they're actually pretty good if you consider the age and or how long they've been selling these sets. And
Hmm.
I think they're quite nicely detailed for scale. The only one which is not a vintage classic is the Firefly. Because well, they never actually did a Firefly, if I remember correctly. And one of the latest sets was Firefly, so I just took that one, obviously. and it has a lot of nice details. Also includes like small ammo canisters for the MG and stuff, so it's actually really detailed. Yeah, and that's what I'm working on right now. I got some chipping done, washes, and next would be probably oil paints, and then I just see what I want to add, like modifieds, dust. The crab thing should be pretty dusty. I'm thinking of making it like in a spinning motion, like it would actually um be used at that time, so the place should really look like they're spinning. And I intended on using a real chain for that, but obviously I wouldn't be able to make the spinning motion with a small chain. And I found
Yeah.
photo etch chains, so I'm kind of interested in using them because I think that might work. Because just from a photo etch set, so you can just bend them however you want, any shape you want. And yeah, that's interesting. That will be, but I think I keep that to the very end because I'm uncertain whether or not it would look good. We just see. We just see about that. But yeah, that's about my whoops. Nothing more fancy going on. kind of, I'm kind of building the Sherman thing and a Churchill tank at the same time because it was the Churchill tank which I stole the trailer from, and I'm just going to look whether or not it looks good on a Churchill tank, and then I'm going to apply the same methods on the same techniques on my Sherman because I don't want to mess it up.
That makes sense.
But that's about it. I would say.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and is that 1/100 dio finished? I can't think it.
Yeah, I finished it on. I got some pictures on my Instagram, but I can also post some on here if you want. I wanted to finish it before I worked on my before I restarted working on my 155th scale diorama because I had a lot of stuff going on, so I wanted to finish this one, and then I would start working on all the other stuff again, and so it's finished. But it also took some time actually, more than I expected. But usually because I thought 1/100 scale models will be easy and fast to paint, but actually quite the opposite because it's so tiny. You just need to.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I speak for everyone here when I say you really need to be careful when you paint the models because you could do so much wrong and it would just look awful.
Yeah.
Especially chipping and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you really need to take your time.
yeah, that's something I didn't actually consider before building 3 of them.
Actually, it's funny. This whole podcast really started because of that Instagram build.
Yeah, actually.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We are the
Got
Micro
all of
Machines
us.
podcast after all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what
started
Yeah.
with the
machine.
micro machines.
But I must say, the 1/100 models are actually a lot of fun, and you can really. I was just having fun with the models and just testing out new stuff, which I didn't consider or didn't want to try on other models because I thought I would mess them up with stuff. So
Right.
they were just test pieces basically, which was quite fun
Yeah,
because you just do whatever you want.
1/100 scale is definitely not something that I think most people would necessarily do, but it's actually really fun. And
Yeah.
with
I agree.
3D printing with resin printers, it's actually becoming like a lot more. How do I say it? It's like becoming a lot more well developed as a scale in the hobby, because now it's not like you're just buying Zvezda kits. You can actually find basically any tank in existence, and if you've got a little bit of patience, you can actually print them off and get lots of good detail with them.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of 3D printing, you don't design the tanks yourself, do you?
Me? No, I don't. I'm working right now on an N-Law, just like modifying that for printing, and I think I will be designing some contact ERA bricks though. As just the guy I talked to, if you want to design a tank, because I know he actually does 3D modeling.
Yeah. I'm still, trying to figure out how to do it well, but
Yeah. Pro tip from the Micro Machines: if you have the means, go bother somebody with a resin printer and make them print off 1 to 100 scale tanks for you.
For sure.
I'm knocking on your door, Dennis.
In this weather? Man, you must really want it.
Oh. Yeah, I gotta get that 1/100 scale kits. I don't know what you mean.
I don't know, Dennis, did you see that you can print off of that same guy's list of tanks? He has 1/100 scale wasps.
Yes, I saw that. I've got a 35th scale Canadian wasp, so I've got to do like 1 to 100 and 35th. Do a buddy build.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have that 1/100 Stug diorama, and I'm making my 1/35th Stug diorama.
Yeah, because I remember seeing you posting pictures to the Instagram of that Stug diorama. I was like, man, I could do all of this in a day. I could paint it and do a diorama for it in a day if I was really stupid about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1 to 100 scale is great if you don't really have the patience for bigger stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but resin printers are fun. My in-law just printed.
Yeah, send some pictures to us.
Yes, as soon as we're done, I'm going to actually take... well, first I got to wash it and then remove the supports, but yeah, I am definitely going to. I've got like 5 people on Kitmaker who are like, spamming
Foaming at the mouth.
messages. Yeah, these guys are just crazy. They're gonna have a stroke or something if I don't give them some in-law soon.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that and the javelin.
Yeah. Wait, just to be clear, hopefully we didn't record the talk about the piracy, right?
What? What piracy?
Yeah,
Piracy. No.
No.
Oh,
That never
you have no faith in my cold openings.
well, yes. At this point.
Yeah. But cool. Anyone got any anything they want to say? Any shoutouts? Any ads? Any messages for the wide world of the internet?
Same as last time. Join Kitmaker. Follow our Instagrams.
yeah.
Send us free kits.
Yes.
Yeah,
If
Send
there's
us golden
anybody,
eagles.
You go last one.
if you
Everyone
want,
say your address right now.
I will post
you want
our
to.
address to the YouTube comments. Feel free to send us kits to that. Please don't send us anthrax. Yeah.
Send anthrax in the kits.
Yeah.
Ship me jelly beans. Do that.
Send us T-72s.
And
you-
tractors.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do have one little bit of merchandise as well, which I own.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
we've got a mug now.
lucky.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have one mug.
One mug.
We're gonna
One
sell-
mug for the
we're gonna,
entire group.
We're gonna sell that mug as an NFT.
It's
I'm just-
exclusive now.
No, we should do it as a traveling mug. We'll just send it to each other in each podcast. Someone else is drinking out of it.
There you
Yeah. That's very
That's the
COVID
mug
friendly.
segment of the podcast.
Oh. Well,
We did a thing.
podcast.
We got through a second episode.
Good.
Are we cancelled yet?
No.
No, I don't think we were super offensive. I mean, unless you're a French person, but
Well, yeah, but I mean, come on.
We could have been
yeah,
a lot
French
more
Invitations.
Okay, never mind.
God gets canceled somehow.
yeah.
Oh, God.
We will find that subject.
Yes, we will.
And what do we think about doing next week if we survive after this?
Not something that isn't French.
Churchill or Jag Tiger or
We haven't done anything modern yet.
True.
We should.
Oh
do
yeah, go buy a 1/35th scale cope cage off of Colts 3D.
Yes, you can do that now. $10, money well spent.
Oh yeah.
Yes. One Piece.
To the guy who made the cope cage in One
Poncho.
Piece on Cults, the gentleman from Micro Machines salute you.
Yes, we do.
You know what we should do next
Coke
week?
cage on. Oh.
The Ajax IFV, the tank that gives its crew a concussion and can't go off road.
Oh yeah.
That sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh,
Yeah,
what was
dude.
that? One sec. What about that British tank from World War II, where if the driver like had his head sticking up out of the hatch, the gun would hit him in the head?
Oh, the Valiant.
Yeah, the Valiant. Yeah,
The
and that
Valiant,
was
where you literally have to cut your leg off in order to get out of the tracking
exactly.
position.
Uh-huh.
That thing was actually used as a teaching tool of, right, students, look at this. Here's how not to do it. It
Right.
was
you go.
Find
literally used
everything
as
wrong
that
with it.
how, yeah.
Yeah, it's the British tank exclusively driven by amputees.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, next week we are going to be doing an episode where we collectively make fun of the British.
Fun.
That's always a bit
Wonderful. It's
fun.
about time.
Awesome. Well, goodbye everyone. Have fun working on your
Bye.
guns.
Yeah, see
Will
ya.
do.
I've got to go to work now, so see ya.
Hey, have fun at work.
Yeah.
I will not.
Try not to die of heat stroke.